When you're in a position of heading and being responsible for several 100,000 people, that you have to do what you think is the right thing. Now, sometimes that right thing is not the softest option or the easiest option to look at. And going down that path might hurt some people who are on your side. And it's always a dilemma as to, do you protect their interests, which you are doing anyway, or do you do this in a manner that endangers them, possibly? And I've always felt that you need to be doing the right thing, but you need to communicate with these people that you are doing the right thing because you feel it's necessary, and these are the dangers or pitfalls or difficulties that might be experienced. And you don't often have support from the people that you're doing this for. And sitting where they are, they may feel that you shouldn't do this. It's too risky or too difficult. But the alternative of not doing it, is sitting quiet or appeasing that situation, are far, far worse. So finally, the process appears to be, in my mind, do what you think is the right thing. Think it through. Try to gain as much scenario knowledge that you can about what can go wrong and what plan B and C and D might be, but then just go and do it. And usually that has, as you go down that path, points where you wonder whether you should stop, or you did something wrong, or you should reverse your stand, and you are faced with another dilemma, that of backing down as against going through, establishing a position of weakness that no one will, and you will never arise from, as against being accused of arrogance or stubbornness and going forward. And you have to do that alone. No one is ever going to stand with you to make that happen. I think first you have to listen, because the worst thing you can do in making this decision is to do it on incomplete knowledge or incomplete data. So if you're taking 3 people's input and that speaks for 100 people, maybe you're on the wrong path because they are biased in what they have explained to you. So you need to somehow find a way to make that judgment yourself. I think that's one very important issue which I have learned. You can get someone coming in and firing you up in a manner that you would decide to take some action in the next few minutes. And when you go and try to get a feel yourself, you come to the conclusion that, thank God I didn't do that, because that's not the situation as it really is. So listening, I think, is one. Usually the decision to do it you may discuss with people, and you get mixed views. The people who don't want to confront, there are people who are hawks that feel you should do more than what you're doing. So finally, I would have to say that the moral compass finally has to come from you. And importantly, you have to be willing to take the responsibility and the blame if things go wrong. You can't just then say, well, I did it on the basis of what these 3 persons told me or such. That revelation or that acceptance needs to be there, that you are taking this and you are responsible for it. And sometimes if things go wrong, let's say 3 people get killed in the process, that responsibility must somehow be on your shoulders, and you need to figure out how you can deal with that, as against writing off and blaming somebody else for it. My first few years as chairman was committed and dedicated to changing the culture in the company. I inherited a board, for example, that must have have an average age of 85. We had a few directors who were participating. Several of them had to be helped into the boardroom because they could no longer walk freely. Some of them came and sat down and fell asleep. Others didn't hear too well. But when it came to making changes, they all woke up and ensured that no change took place. So the first 4 or 5 years were spent in trying to figure out how to graciously ease them out of the company. And finally, I'm pleased to say that most of them followed a trend of, if you made them an offer that was attractive enough, they agreed to move. And then 5 years later, one could sit down and try to create a new culture, a company a group that was more customer-oriented and attempted to be more nimble-footed than it had been in the past. We developed, as you know, a small car called the Nano. We decided that we would establish the factory in Calcutta because industry had moved away from the eastern part of India, and we thought a revolutionary car could be in a place that brought employment back to eastern India. We unfortunately got embroiled in a political battle between the government of West Bengal and an aspiring political leader, a lady, who vowed that she would not allow a single car to come out of this factory. And the war of words went on between her and me. The factory was almost 85% complete, and I had to take a decision that, given the fact that we had dead bodies thrown on the site, we had shootings, we had people beaten up, that I couldn't look at our employees in their eye and say that you'll work in this factory. So I decided that we would move. And we decided that in the dead of night, and we started moving a completed car plant over the next several days. I think with about 1,400 large tractor-trailer trucks, we moved the plant out and ended up in Gujarat, which is Mr. Modi's state. We lost a lot in that period of 1 year where we rebuilt that plant. To this day, one will never know whether we did the right thing or not. I personally believe that that was the only option we had, but it became a very ugly decision that had to be taken. The second, if you might, challenge that I faced, completely different, was when 10 Pakistani terrorists descended on Bombay, and amongst the places they attacked our hotel. And about 37 or 40 people in our hotel were shot and killed for no reason. And then it became an issue that, do you stand by and let this happen, or do you go into the midst of what was like a war zone and stand with your employees and go to the homes of people who were killed and And I chose to do the latter, to go every day to the hospitals to look at the people who were injured. And there again, that leaves a lasting impression on you in terms of what happened, what could have been done to avoid it, and how could you deal with this? What was the best form of support you could give to your people? I think those two instances stand out as being challenging moments in one's career.